What's up, guys? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, joined today by Michael Chandler, who is a lightweight, I suppose, but maybe soon to be welterweight in what very well could be the biggest fight of the year of 2023. It is Saturday afternoon. UFC came out, put out an interview, put out a announcement, I suppose. Dana White sitting in his studio, yelling, excited, ramped up, saying that Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler are going to coach the next season of The Ultimate Fighter and then fight at the conclusion of the season. So first off, man, I can only imagine how crazy has your morning been since that announcement.
Yeah, morning has been crazy. I got my phone on airplane mode right now to make sure it doesn't just vibrate off this tripod I got it on because it's been blowing up. So it's obviously friends and family and acquaintances. Everybody's known I've wanted this fight. Even if you don't even know who I am, but you've seen my fights, you've seen my call-outs. Everybody's known I've wanted this fight for a long time. Conor has expressed interest in it in the past, and here it is. I mean, not to mention the fight later on this year, whenever it happens, but the opportunity to fight the Coach Tough, man, it's crazy. It hasn't really all sank in yet. I think it'll probably sink in whenever my feet hit the desert of Las Vegas and we start filming this thing and really kind of start that journey towards the fight later on. But it's been crazy, man.
Did you know they were announcing it this morning?
I did. Actually, I just talked to Hunter Campbell. He's like, hey, sorry for not giving you a heads up when the announcement was going to be. But, man, the UFC, I respect and admire them so much because they're putting out fires at all times, dealing with all kinds of crazy stuff. So, reaching out to me and telling me when it was going to be announced, I didn't expect that. But it sure was a nice, pleasant surprise this morning. And then the phone has just been bringing off the hook. So it's been good.
Did you know that it was finalized though? Like you knew it had to be announced, but you're like, this is a go? Or did you maybe not even like truly believe it until they were like, hey, yeah, Conor's in and it's official, it's out there now?
Well, yeah, I did get confirmation very recently that it was within the last day or so that, hey, it's happening. It's you, it's Conor, it's this, and it's Tough and whatnot. But obviously I didn't know if it was going to be announced. It doesn't really feel real until it actually is announced, because he could call me, he could say it's me, and then all of a sudden, stuff falls apart at the 11th hour. But now once it's announced, not only the Ultimate Fighter, us as coaches, but us fighting later this year at the conclusion, is a nice little reassurance that this thing's actually happening. So I'm excited.
You said obviously your phone's been blown up. Anybody other than obviously the friends and family, like any, I don't know if you're Hollywood, you're big time now. If you got anybody big reaching out, congratulating you. Oh my God, you're fighting Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I mean, a few people from Hollywood here and there, but I mean, not to drop any names, but I mean, I have like hundreds of text messages on my phone. I honestly don't even know who actually has text me. My friend David Meltzer's in town. We spoke at an event together on Friday, and we had dinner last night, and then we just had lunch together. He's just been a friend and a mentor of mine. So I was just at lunch for an hour or two and looked down. I got like 35 more text messages. So I don't even know who is actually on my phone right now. I'm playing daddy duty today as well. So my wife is actually in Vegas at a medical conference right now. So she's been there for the last 2 days at the convention center. So I'm here on daddy duty as well. So I got some nanny coverage till about 20 minutes from now. Then it's daddy duty the rest of the night. So it's not exactly the best day for me to have a lot of all of this stuff going on, because I'm just hanging out with the boys. So,
well, dude, with everything going on, I appreciate your time even more than usual. So thank you for sitting down with us. What kind of details can you give us on this thing? Like it starts filming in May and through August, right? And you used to live in Vegas. So when will you come out? Where will you stay? Kind of, have you been given any sort of like details in terms of what the weight classes and like, is there any kind of theme of the Ultimate Fighter this season? Like, what do you know?
Man, what's funny is it's almost like the bigger the opportunity that you say yes to, the less questions you ask. Haven't asked a ton of questions as of right now, as far as I know. Obviously, you saw Dana's announcement. It will be airing on ESPN. What do you say? May, June, July-ish, something like that, or maybe even in August.
It ends airing in August. Yeah.
There you go. Ending airing in August. So we're gonna film it before then. So I'll be heading to Vegas here soon to start that filming. And I don't know if it's a 30 days of filming. I don't know if it's 60 days of filming. Have no idea. And obviously for those that have never seen The Ultimate Fighter, it's going to be exciting for me and Conor to be in there competing against each other. But obviously everybody knows the format of The Ultimate Fighter, but don't know weight classes, don't know Gender, I don't know if it's all guys, all girls, what it is. All I know is I'm excited to show up and put my best foot forward and then fight Conor later this year. Oh, at 170. You know, I haven't exactly talked to the UFC about that, but obviously I know that's what Conor wants. And I am definitely down to fight at 170. So let's do that.
Yeah, I kind of, obviously that was a big first question that everybody had. Like, is this fight at 170? And I don't think that's set yet because there's no bout agreement. That's right. But it's just like, I think everyone expects it to be at 170.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at. You know, obviously my call out was I want to at his biggest, his baddest, and his best at 170 is most dangerous. I am by no means a small lightweight when it comes to how much I actually weigh. So not having to cut that extra 15 pounds would be a dream come true for me. Getting to fight in Vegas, hopefully. And I only say that because Conor notoriously fights in Vegas. You know, that's pretty much only where he fights. So the opponent dictates the fact that we're probably going to be fighting in Vegas, which is good for me because I've been signed with the organization now for what, 2.5 years. I haven't fought in Vegas yet. So
Wow.
check a lot of boxes, getting the opportunity to do tough, which I've always wanted to do, fighting Conor, doing it at 170, doing it in Vegas, hopefully. And sometime this, I don't know, end of summer, early fall, winter, whatever.
I think a lot of us would just assume September, right? I mean, if the show finishes airing in August, they annually have a show in September, early September here in Vegas. I would think that'd be the one. Yeah. It's like,
That was, yeah, I mean, that would make the most sense to me. I mean, even to Conor, obviously Conor's driven by the pay-per-view buys. You want to keep that tension as close to the fight as possible. You know, you start pushing it out toward the end of the year, you know, other big fights happen, other storylines are created. So yeah, if this thing gets done airing in August, it seems like kind of going right into a couple weeks of building up the fight and then fighting right after in September would be absolutely perfect. And that timeline works out great for me. Obviously the next, if that rings true, obviously the next 8 months are going to be crazy busy and a lot of obligations, being in Vegas and coaching and training and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited about the ride. I'm excited about the huge opportunity, and September sounds really great.
yeah, I was going to ask you, that's all of that you just laid out. And this is a lot of work. I mean, I think it's work that you're going to enjoy for the most part. And this is work that you've asked for. But there's a lot that goes into this type of fight and this type of promotion. But it probably only means you're only going to make one walk in 2023, most likely. That sounds all right to you?
Yeah. I mean, when it's a fight this big, you know, I mean, that's what we want when we get into the sport. You know, you don't necessarily want a ton of fights. You want the biggest fights. You know, if you could have 10 huge fights or 30 mediocre fights, you take the 10 big fights, right? So, big stages, big platforms, brightest lights, big opportunities against big opponents. Conor checks all of those boxes. This event that we're going to main event down the line will be a huge event. The lead up and the opportunity of being on ESPN, because I mean that's work for me as well. That's like basically another performance and opportunity every single week. So instead of being on TV 2-3 times a year, now I want to be on TV. The fight plus 13 episodes probably is what I would imagine it usually is. So that's 14 different times on TV this year. Network television like ESPN, primetime, and then a huge pay-per-view, obviously. So I see it as a huge plus. And, obviously I'll probably make more money in that one fight than I would in 2 or 3 or 4. So, so we'll see.
Yeah, you just signed a new contract before your last fight against Gaethje, right? Or Gaethje against Poirier.
Against Poirier, yep, I did.
Had you built this in to that contract that, hey, if we get a Conor McGregor fight, we don't even need to have the conversation because we're already good. We've had the conversation.
We've had some talks about the Conor fight. I mean, when Conor's in your weight class, you're a fool not to, right? So, we've kind of got it ironed out. We'll get some more things ironed out, I'm sure, obviously. But it's beautiful whenever the athlete and the promotion have a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship, and it was like that my entire career. It was like that with Bellator. Now it's like that in the UFC. Being a guy who's easy to work with, and it's almost just there's not this hold your cards close to your chest kind of smoke and mirrors type of negotiations. It's like, man, when there's this huge mutual respect, I know I bring a lot to the table. Obviously, they bring a ton to the table. They are my promotion. They give me the ability to showcase my skills on a world stage. we're always just working in good faith to give ourselves the best win-win scenario. And it's been like that ever since. So it's very easy for me to negotiate with the UFC, and it's been painless thus far.
So the last time we actually did an interview, it was after the Poirier fight, and we were talking about this Conor fight, and I was like, dude, they have to do this at Allegiant Stadium. I mean, and this is decisions that are made, you know, above our heads, but can you throw that out there maybe a little bit? I don't know what the contract is like, and if it's possible, T-Mobile Arena, you know, that they have dates in place, but this is an Allegiant Stadium fight to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you brought that up, I mean, obviously you're a Vegas guy, so you drive past it all the time or see it whenever. So to me, it hasn't really been in my mind. It's always, hey, Vegas is, you know, it used to be MGM, Mandalay Bay before T-Mobile came along. Now it's always T-Mobile. But man, yeah, this would be the one that you would do Allegiant Stadium for sure. And that's an indoor arena. Are they close the top? Yeah. So I mean, it's perfect. Obviously, it seats a ton more, and we would be able to sell it out because it's Conor and myself. So, yeah, I'll throw that out there. You know, I'm, you know, not asking for it, but obviously that would be. It kind of seems like a no-brainer if we do it in Vegas, obviously.
Shoot Hunter and Dana in the group text. You know, hey, there's Legion open in September.
Brett made a recommendation. Okay, we should go to the stadium.
Well, how are you feeling about what is your expectation or kind of what's going through your head when you think about, man, I'm going to get to Vegas and I'm going to be around this guy, and it's not only just from a standpoint of I'm going to be around a guy that I'm going to fight, you know, I'm going to be around Conor McGregor, who he brings a lot of personality, you know, everything that comes with that. I mean, what's kind of going through your head when you envision being around this guy with cameras around and just your life, I guess, for the next couple of months?
It's yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild when you take yourself out of it and look at it kind of as an outsider's perspective. But when I look at it from my perspective, what I've done since I was 14 years old when it comes to hand-to-hand combat and just constantly getting more used to and accustomed to more obligations, more pressure, more work, and bigger stages now, going to the UFC, brighter lights. I mean, this is what I've been envisioning this for years now. I have visualized being in the same rooms with and around these big opponents. Obviously, Conor is the biggest when it comes to notoriety, his overall stature, how he carries himself, how smart, witty, cunning he is. Obviously, enemy territory when it comes to the battlefield of the mind and how we're both going to have those conversations. Being stuck also in Vegas together for whatever it is, 4-6 weeks, however long it is. I'm looking forward to it because I've grown accustomed to trusting myself in high stakes situations. I've grown accustomed to trusting myself when it's time to perform, whether it's time to perform under the bright lights, whether it's time to perform on a movie set, a news set, or a reality TV set. Can't tell you what's going to happen, what Conor's going to show up. We've seen a couple different versions of Conor as well. And I think Conor somewhat tailors he tailors himself, his personality, and his ability and willingness to engage in those verbal altercations based upon his opponent. So I could bring the worst out of him that we have ever seen, or I could bring the more buttoned up businessman Conor. We don't know. And I think one day you could get one, the next day you get the next. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see that, because that would obviously throw off, you know, he's probably thinking that would throw me off. So, man, I'm just excited about it. I fear no man. I don't fear Conor McGregor. I don't fear the verbal altercations. I don't fear the fact that he is so interesting to so many people, because he is interested and he does his homework. He knows a lot about me, not because of, or for any other reason, because he wants to use it against me. So now I'm just excited about it. And there's no doubt that there's going to be some tension. There's going to be some little animosity, little gamesmanship, the game within the game. The competition, as far as I'm concerned, we're stepping into that octagon later on this year, but the competition starts now. We're laying the groundwork right now, being stuck in Vegas together, and the pressures and the demands of wearing a mic all the time, having a camera on you all the time, and the pressures of taking these young lives and trying to turn one of them into a UFC fighter, getting a UFC contract, which is an opportunity that I am not going to take lightly. These young guys or gals, whatever weight they are, whatever age they are going to get the best out of me. And I think that's going to be a really awesome storyline on ESPN.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very fascinating what kind of Conor you get because it's just so true. You've had like we've seen a very, very polite McGregor in one fight, and then he turns around literally in the next one with the same opponent and is a completely different one. I'm talking about Dustin. You know, with the second fight with Dustin, he was nice. They were talking about charity. They were hugging each other, and then the third one, he got, you know, I would say some people would say it was kind of ugly. Have you thought? I mean, I hear exactly what you're saying, that you've been in those high pressure moments and you just performed in all of them, whether it's on the mic or, you know, in the actual performance of the octagon. And so you just learn to trust yourself that like, hey, I'm just going to handle myself well just because that's who I am. Have you thought about it all though, if he does say something personal or personal about, you know, anybody that you know, or like we've seen it. We've seen, like we were talking about, like this line that you don't cross in trash talk in MMA, and he's willing to cross it. Like, have you thought about what your reaction will be if he does?
No, I honestly, I mean, I haven't, because I don't want to think about, I don't want to put any blinders on, and I don't want to put any shackles on myself. If the worst part of me comes out, it comes out of me, and I smack him across the face on national TV, or I pick him up and slam him on the concrete over there at the Tough House, I don't know. Or I cower and walk away like a little baby. I don't know what the reaction is going to be, and I'm not going to prepare for it, because, like I said, I trust myself to go in there and to navigate and negotiate these exchanges. But yeah, there is a line that you don't cross. Absolutely. When a guy has a wife, he's got kids, family. There's a line that you don't cross. Obviously, it's hard for me to believe that Conor's going to cross that with me. Then again, me even saying that on an interview probably encourages him, entices him to, possibly. So we'll see. You know, the good thing is, man, this is an in the moment, nonstop cameras rolling reality TV show where the emotions are going to be high. I mean, if you just look at it straight black and white, it's me and Conor, big time, fierce competitors. Both of us want to win. Both of us have a huge amount of pride and ego. Whether we carry ourselves with humility at times, we both have a big sense of pride in what we've accomplished, who we are as human beings, who we will be as coaches, who we are as fathers, husbands, businessmen, whatever it is. So there's going to be a lot of ego going on in there, and couple that with the high stakes pressure situation, I don't know what you're going to see, and that's a beautiful thing. I've already talked to my wife about that, and I'm like, sweetie, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, and she said, babe, do your thing. Whatever happens, happens, you know? So that's what's exciting to me. So you might see a side of me. I would almost venture to say you're most likely going to see a side of me you've never seen before. Going to be fun.
You guys did fight on the same card back in 2021, January. And if I'm remembering right, which I think I am, there was still a lot of bubble stuff going. That was a bubble, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
There was like 2,000 people at Etihad Arena.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. Like they weren't going to do fans, but then they let some fans in. But I think they were like, obviously they were testing. I was at that one, but they all kind of blur together now. But like he showed up kind of late. I feel like did you interact with him at all? Like, did you guys cross paths? Did you really talk to him much?
I did, yeah, because that was the nice Conor. That was the nice Conor press conference. Yeah, actually, I remember watching him walk in, and it was the first time that I had been in this. It's the first time that I saw Conor in the flesh, right? This big mystic guy that you so many people see on TV, on the internet, but very rarely see in person. Even me, as a guy who's been fighting for 15 years, I remember seeing him, and you know, immediately I got this sense of, I can't wait to fight that guy because I know what's going to happen. And also a sense of calm and confidence that I feel like I'm impenetrable to what he brings to the table, both physically as well as the mental warfare. So I've kind of been preparing for that for a long time. And then we got off stage to go up and do the face-offs and whatnot. And he and I had kind of exchanged some kind of nice stuff, actually respectful stuff on stage. He came down, shook my hand and said, you know, hey, it's great to meet you. And, you know, essentially something like, it's good to have you here in the UFC type of thing, you know, so go do your thing. Right. So that was the nice Conor that was there for, you know, however long was there. And then he turned into the, you know, not so nice Conor. So, yeah, we've shared the stage together already. So we've sized each other up. Obviously he's a little bit bigger than he, you know, was back then. And, it's going to be fun, man. Cannot wait.
In a weird way, you got to almost hope that bad Conor shows up, right? Because it's better for TV. I think the rest of us are going to be hoping bad Conor shows up, right? It's going to be less intriguing if you guys are just friendly and sharing lunch in the UFC PI, right? Are you kind of hoping that Brad Connor's
Going to happen. I mean, that's definitely not going to happen. Uh, as far as the sharing lunch and stuff, like you said, no matter what, I think I'm not capable of being around him that much, knowing that I'm going to fight him. So I think we do see a little. You're going to see vintage. I think you're going to see some vintage Connor. Because I mean, ultimately, we're here to create intrigue about this fight as well, and we get the opportunity to do it on the biggest stage that you could actually ask for in mixed martial arts. I mean, obviously, fighting Connor on a pay-per-view, that's the biggest fight that there is in mixed martial arts. But getting to do it every single week, we're gonna film it prior, but for 13 weeks or 12 weeks, however long this thing is airing, it's the biggest stage that you could ask for, primetime slot on ESPN, to be able to build this storyline, build this fight, and get people interested. They're already interested, obviously, hence why my phone has been blowing up, the internet has been blowing up. Sports Center called you like right away to get on and start talking about it. This is going to be a worldwide type of reach when it comes to a big fight later this year. But being able to build this animosity, to build the characters of who we are as coaches, as competitors, and also getting stuck in Vegas together and being on Prime TV, man, I'd be lying if I was saying it wasn't a little scary, a little nervous, but that's when the best of me comes out. That's when I know. There's two times. I know when I'm a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, and I've got that little bit of edge, but it's a quiet confidence. So that's when I know I'm going to have an awesome performance. Or when I have tears in my eyes backstage and I'm like listening to music, I'm thinking of my wife, thinking about my kids, and this emotion wells up in me that's bigger than just the X's and the O's. So I've got that feeling right now that calm as a cucumber, cool as a cucumber, but on edge a little bit and a little bit antsy and a little bit nervous about showing up there and getting excited about basically being in a fight every single day. Every single motion, movement, decision that we make is leading up to this fight. And it is a fight because this is a huge competition. And I'm taking this competition extremely seriously when it comes to my fighters winning every single fight, and then me going out there and beating Conor later on this year.
Yeah. When you mention, because you always, especially when you walk out, dude, like you just look happy. You look really happy. Like you want to be there. You're excited. You don't look fearful at all. When eventually you do have that night against Conor, let's say it's in September, let's say it's, in Vegas, and that like you've had big fights before, obviously huge fights, but when you know that like the world is watching this one, who do you think? Yeah, what do you think that's gonna feel like right before you walk out?
No, it's interesting. I try not to. Number one, you can't let the magnitude of the moment supersede the X's and O's and so you got to keep yourself calm. But I also never want to downplay how amazing this career is and amazing of an opportunity that we get. Yeah. Making that walk, whether it is against Conor or any of my other fights before, especially the ones now in the UFC, they've always been big fights. A title fight, Madison Square Garden, twice now, being on huge pay-per-views. These are huge opportunities. This one is by far and away the biggest. And I don't want to ever downplay it or ever water it down, but it really is just an arena in some city somewhere with another guy with 2 arms and 2 legs, my same size. That's what I kind of tell myself to make sure that the magnitude of the moment doesn't overtake me. But yeah, man, when that NF, my walkout song NF, The Search, when that drops, man, and I get to walk, or even hearing, Conor's music, which every MMA fan knows what Conor's music is. They know he's usually got the flag or whatever, if we're allowed to, they know these certain things about him. And every single time that we get the opportunity to go out there, it starts to make people feel something. So man, I'm just blessed to be able to do what I get to do. As you know, and you've been following my career, this is my second career, so getting the opportunity now to be in the UFC when I was outside of the UFC for so long, man, I just feel like I'm fighting on borrowed time. And to have this big of an opportunity as, now this would be my 5th fight, no, my 6th fight in the UFC, right? Yeah.
That sounds right. Hooker, Poirier.
Yeah. Yeah. But to get it now after all, and how it worked out perfectly too, the ups and the downs, fighting for the title, even losing some of these fights, but getting the nod when it comes to, hey, this dude's an entertaining fighter. Even when I lose, stock keeps rising. So it's worked out really well, man. Couldn't script it any better. And here we are, man. Pull your hat down tight because we're going to hit Vegas here soon and we're going to have a really fun, however many months in front of us.
Yeah, for sure. Just a couple more, man, because I know you're with the family. So I appreciate the time. You mentioned earlier, he's a little bit bigger than he used to be. And it's really well known that he's outside of the USADA pool. As a guy, you know, there have been different analysts who talk about this and like, oh, what's Conor doing? Why is he out of the USADA pool? And then like, he's got to get back in for 6 months, which I'm sure will happen unless they grant him an exemption. But USADA has been pretty clear that they don't anticipate that. But as the guy who's actually getting into the octagon with him, we have no idea what he's doing. Maybe he's doing nothing, you know, but does that, what were your thoughts on that he has not been drug tested over the last, you know, year-ish, I believe?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly could care less. I mean, it's, you know, we all train hard. We all hit hard. We all have a certain amount of skills. If there was anything going on, more power to him. That doesn't change the outcome most likely on fight night, in my opinion. I've never once worried about it. You know, I mean, obviously me fighting outside of the UFC, we weren't governed by USADA. So I kind of dealt with that my entire career. And as a guy who has constantly been failing the eye test to so many armchair quarterbacks and people on the internet, I would never disrespect the guy's hard work by saying that, you know, accusing anybody of anything, because I know I passed the eye test. So man, it's one of those deals where it almost just adds another layer of intrigue to this whole thing, to be honest with you. And people want to feel something, whether they love Conor or hate Conor, whether they love that he's been drug tested or not been drug tested, whatever it is. It's another thing to add to the list of talking points for people to talk about this fight. So don't really have any feelings toward it either way. As I said, I want Conor at his biggest, his baddest, and his best. And he's looking at his biggest and his baddest and his best and most dangerous. So that's the Conor that I want to fight. So in my eyes, I'm fighting the biggest Conor that anybody's ever fought. So that is a feather in my cap.
I think the last thing I got for you, man, and you know, you do great analyst work. You're actually, ironically, going to be an analyst for ESPN this next week. You're going to be in Bristol, I heard, in Connecticut, doing this.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this throws a wrench into everything. So I'm like, yeah, trying to figure all that. So yes, I have that planned right now.
You're scheduled for it as of this moment. Yeah.
When it comes to dates and when we're going to Vegas and all that kind of stuff, it's, you know, we're still trying to figure all that stuff out. So, shoot, I could be leaving before then. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yes, I am. And obviously that's a big fight coming happening this week.
Yeah. So you obviously break down fights. You have an analytical mind. Tell me what this fight's going to look like, man. At the end of the day, when all of the promos get done and the reality show airs, like what kind of fight are we going to get between Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor?
Well, first of all, you lay out the basics of Conor and I both start extremely fast. That cage door closes. Bruce Buffer announces us. That bell dings, and we both try to meet in the center of the octagon, try to make the other guy take a backward step first. Conor more in a larger, wider, take up more space stance in order to kind of, I think, project that domineering spirit of himself. Me more like a missile, kind of coming at you and making you feel my presence right away. And I want to get my hands on you. I think when I break down this fight, I do think I have more power. I do think I have more wrestling, better grappling. But with that, Conor is very good. You saw the Eddie Alvarez fight. You saw the Chad Mendes fight. You saw the Jose Aldo fight. Conor is very good at missing punches, getting out of the way of punches by a gnat's eyelash, a millimeter, and then countering with that straight left or the 1, 2, 3, 4 like he did against Eddie. So you're going to see a guy who's 100% offensive myself, a guy like Conor who is constantly in your face and having that presence, but is more of a counter striker in a lot of regards, or can play the counter striker game. And if he lands one on the button, it's going to be a rough night for me. If I land one on the button, it's going to be a rough night for him, but which one of us can do it? I'm going to get in his face right away, make him take a backward step right away, and he's going to feel my presence from the very beginning of the fight. And then from there, wherever the fight takes us, if I want to pick him up and put him down, I can pick him up and put him down and put a beating on him, and get a submission that way. I believe I finished Conor in the second round. That's my Mystic Mike take on this later on this year, whenever it is.
And you think when you finish him in the second round, that's you in top position ground and pound, or that's a Michael Chandler right hand? Good night.
Ooh, man, I always visualize the knockout. I think I always visualize a big overhand right or a left hook. Man, that's the shot that I really want to land every single time, and that's the shot I've seen put guys down so many times in my career. Put guys down in training, put guys down in my mind a million times. So I believe I wear him down a little bit and land a big shot in the second round and take him out.
Yeah. I can't wait, man. And I actually do have one more for you because trying to get a fight with Conor, as you know, it can be kind of a chess game. I mean, the different guys want it, of course. Why wouldn't they? People want to fight Conor McGregor. And he was going to come back in 2023. And I know that there are a lot of obvious reasons why this fight makes sense. But at the end of the day, Conor has a say, obviously, a very, very large say in who he fights. Why do you think he's fighting you?
That's a good question, and I would like to bring up a couple points when we talk about that. Number one, Conor shattered his leg less than 2 years ago, right? I think in July it'll be 2 years, right? Shattered, titanium shin bone, right? There's a lot of other guys that he could come back against, and they're easier fights than fighting me. So number one, kudos to him. Take my hat off to him. And number two, and this is just more philosophical than it is. Well, I'll start with the philosophical and then start with the why Conor, I think, is fighting me. But I've never once wavered from who I am. I never once cowered it down and changed who I was when people said, hey, you need to talk more trash, you need to cuss more, you need to do this, you need to be a little bit more brash, you need to talk more crap on Twitter, you need to be a little bit more controversial, a little bit more questionable. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. There's people that don't like me because of the way that I am, absolutely. But ultimately, the reason that this fight is happening on and The Ultimate Fighter on ESPN leading up to it, and ultimately why I think Conor has the amount of respect he does for me, because I can act a certain way inside the cage, perform a certain way inside the cage that makes people feel something, well up emotions, and have them on the edge of their seats and want to buy the pay-per-view. But then also, when it comes to me trying to get a fight with Conor McGregor, I don't have to call him names, throw out accusations, stoop to that level. So many guys think you want to pick a fight, you want to poke the bear and pick the fight with Conor or one of these other guys. We're all fighters, we're all tough. Conor doesn't need a fight to be picked with him. As a matter of fact, I never picked a fight with him. I just said I wanted to fight him, and I called him out. So I think it starts with the mutual respect, as well as the fact that I think he has seen my notoriety grow over the last X amount of fights and couple of years now, and he knows to sell a huge pay-per-view, to sell out arenas and do huge numbers on pay-per-views, you have to have a great dance partner. So I think that was also part of why he knows I checked the box of, am I beatable? Yeah, I'm beatable. But am I the easiest fight that he could have taken? Absolutely not. And there's an intrigue that comes with me stepping in the octagon against Conor, where he knows he has to be on his game. He could take a fight with a guy that's easier to fight, but he knows he has to be on his game, and that's why I respect Conor. Conor has never once shied away from tough fights, and that's what I love about him.
Yep. I love it, man. This is going to give us, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be something for us to look forward to all year. Like, people are looking forward to The Ultimate Fighter. It had kind of lost its luster a little bit. Let's be honest, this thing has been going on for 30 seasons. I think this is going to everybody's going to be talking about The Ultimate Fighter. And then, of course, we have just an enormous fight to look forward to in 2023, man. So congratulations. Get back to the daddy duty. And, well, hope to see you in Vegas in person when you come out here.
Yes, sir. I'll see you in Vegas soon, man.